Coming up on this season preview, powered by PointsBet, it's the Geelong Cats. It just sounds like they're going to be the Geelong Cats again. They're going to have another crack at a flag. It's Jez Cameron. It's Tom Stewart. They're going to be so good again. Das?
Jeff, they're just a bloody good side. It's unbelievable. 12th year before, back to a prelim. It just seems like that they've got one of the best teams in the league and they're just going to go there again. Guys, you know where to find us at 100K Sports. Like and subscribe. You guys can find us on Apple, Spotify and YouTube, guys. Send it to as many people as you can. Really helps us out. And let's go, Cats.
Meow. Welcome back to the 100K season previews powered by PointsBet. Today we are up to the Geelong Cats. What a team they are and always are going to be, basically. Joining me as always, Darcy Ballard-Dove. How are you, brother?
Jeff, I'm fantastic. Yeah, we're up to the powerhouse Geelong Cats. Went back through my notes from last year as well. I think you forget the year before, they finished 12th.
Yeah.
10th or 12th. They won the flag. Then they just had a dead set bottom out year. So some of our notes, even though that they were bad, we both predicted a bounce back year.
Yeah.
So it was pretty fun to go off those notes. They're just too good of a list, well coached. So really excited to jump into this one. We finished off, I always have a look at how they finished last year. So they finished equal third on points on the ladder. So they were 15-8. So they were the exact same as GWS, but they absolutely got a percentage boost the last game of the year against West Coast where they won by 93 points.
That's right.
Jez Cameron looked like he was going to kick 15 goals.
Yep, that's right.
It was absolutely dominant. So that's how Geelong, and then obviously we know that they played in one of the all-time prelims. Shout out, no free shouts, but we were at the Dingley International, Jev, one of our favourites. And it was a roller coaster, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Brisbane hit the front, Geelong, and then Brisbane got those last two late. I really want to actually go back and sit back and watch that one again because that was a fantastic game of footy. We thought whoever won that would have a really good chance in the grand final.
They ended their season in heartbreaking fashion for sure. They will feel like they've left a premiership. It's just how footy goes. They would feel like they've left a premiership on the board sort of thing. But yeah, let's get into it. We always start competition A graders, the best of the best. Who have you got as Geelong's competition A graders, Das?
Yeah, it's funny going through a few of the teams now. It's like where we had last year, they might have 5, and then we're like, oh, maybe they've only got 2, and then they've got a lot more position A graders. But I think I'm just going the 2 competition A graders, Jeff. I've gone Jez Cameron. I think it's hard to go past him. Me and you could argue at any point of any time that he's the best player in the AFL, and it ever has been. Like, there's some of the things that he can do that hybrid. He plays like a key forward role, but he's like a hybrid half forward. Yep. He gets up the ground. He turns blokes inside out. He smashes the Blues every time. Talk about a bunny team. He kicks 6 or 8 against us every single time.
The Hawks. He just loves playing them, doesn't he?
Absolutely. So he's one. And then I've got Tom Stewart, Jev. He's unbelievable. He's tough. The local football, like the local produce. I know that's what we call Finn Callahan, but this guy is literally the local produce. Matty Scarlett just plucked him out of local footy and said, I know what a good defender looks like. You're coming with me. I would love to have him on my team. There was that play the other day. I think it was his first final. Remember that rundown? Yeah. He was just tapping it from the back line. That is just one of the all-time plays. It's like a Shane Biggs type play. So I've just got those 2, Jev. What about you?
Yeah, exact same. Jez Cameron, Tom Stewart, my only 2 competition A graders. Yeah, Jez is just a genius. He's a bit of an old veteran, old dog now. If you put on a defender that's like too big in size, he'll just run him up and down the ground. If you put on a guy that's too small, like remember when he said he licked his lips when Isaac Quainer went on him, he'll play a bit deeper, he'll mark everything, he'll lead up. There's just no matchup for him. Teams just don't have matchup for him. He's just a freak. If they can get it to him enough, he's just a freak. It will be interesting to watch him this year, whether he's better without Tom Hawkins or worse, because they were such a good duo. And he seems super... it seems like he doesn't have a big ego when it comes to winning, and he's super unselfish, and he didn't care if Hawk was the one kicking all the snags. But now this year, more ball going his way. And then, Tom Stewart's one of the best players we've ever seen. Legit, in his first 7 years, 5 All-Australians, he plays the position, and just his rig and the way he's built is it's just freakish. It is just so freakish. He's just a gun. So they're my 2 competition A graders. Next is position A graders. I can't wait to see who you've got written down here. Position A graders at the Geelong Cats. Who you got, Das?
Yeah, I found this one tough.
So did I. This is where Geelong are different, where they legit play like 20 notable role players rather than position A graders.
The only one
I still have 3. Who do you have?
How many do you have?
3.
So I'll start off with. We'll go. So I've got Tyson Stengel. I just still think any other team, if you draft him, he's going to be playing. He's going to be starting in the first 22 as a small forward. So previous All Australian, he was on his way actually to win a Norm Smith in that grand final. Kicked 4 goals. They plucked him up. Like obviously his bad time at Adelaide. He's so crafty. He had a horrendous prelim final. Like an absolute all-time shocker. So there's something about with those players when they're in good teams. I feel they have bounced back years. So for me, he's still in that position A grader. Anyone else that you have?
Yeah, I got Tyson Stengel as well as an A grade small forward. He's all class. He makes you pay. He's an A grader. He's such a hard matchup down at the Cattery. Like he just loves playing down there, doesn't he? So Tyson. And then I've got Max Holmes. I'll be the first to put my hand up saying I'm late to the Max Holmes party. He's good. He can play. I just don't think he's in the same stratosphere as a lot of other players. I've never had him in my pyramid before. Is he a top 30 player? I probably think just around 30. He's good. I'd love him at the Swans. You'd love to have him at the Blues. He's obviously got some skills. I'm going to put him down as a position A grader as like he's like that mid half-back winger. When he can really make you pay. Doesn't get as much ball as other guys, but when he does get it, he is damaging. He's a good player. I'm going to give him the love and put him as a position A grader. Did you have Max Holmes, Das?
No, I only had Stengel. This is where I found it really tough. I'm actually high on Max Holmes, and I probably do think he starts in a lot of teams, but then I don't because I think if he comes to the Swans, is he starting over your set mids? Maybe not. Like I see I'm really high on him, and I think he's going to have a really good season. And we'll get into later. I think it's his team to take the reins. But if we're talking about competition A grades and then just position A grades, like I don't know, he might be there, but I only put Stengel because. But underneath that, the rest of the team is just, as you said, Jeff, they do it differently. Who was your third one?
Yeah, and I'm sort of putting Pat Dangerfield down as an A-grade impact player. Like when he plays and he's fit, he's still unfucking believable. The power he plays with, the brutality. Him and Jez can beat teams in a quarter sometimes. That first final against Port Adelaide where they finished third, Port finished second. Him and Jez just stole the game away by about quarter time, Das. Like he's still a freak when he's fit. And like if you're taking a player for one game only at their absolute fully fittest, he's still up there with the first players I pick. So yes, he's no longer that danger that plays 25 absolute A-level games, wins Brownlows and stuff. But when he plays and he's fit, it can be game over sometimes. He's a freak. So yeah, I've gone danger as well.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. And I'm definitely not, I didn't definitely not put him in because of I'm expecting drop-off because we don't like doing that. It's like, show me what you've done. He's still been good, but just the amount of matches he's played. No, and I just think with every other side, is he starting straight away? He might if he's healthy, but he's been a bit rocky. But Jeff, 100% he's there. He's a Brownlow medalist. Notable role players. So this is where the Cats, I feel that they can go down as St. Ormond's. They can go down anywhere and they can pick out a local footballer and they can plug them straight into this team. Who are some people that you looked at?
Yeah, so first of all, this is Geelong. Like, just guys that rock up and play a role for winning teams. I'll start Brad Close, Sean Manor, Brian Myers. Just these guys, these little nipsies at half forward, they call them. They work hard, they get up, they get back, they can all kick, they can all finish a goal when they have to. If you can't run with them, they're going to make you pay. They put pressure on, they do the dirty work. Yeah, they are just such good players in that sort of forward half that work their ass off. Cats fans absolutely love them. Even like commentators love these guys as role players. Some people think they're better than role players. Yeah. I'll start with Brad Close, Sean Manor, Brian Myers, other guys that play that role. There's a couple of young guys in the side that I talk about in Young Guns that sort of do the role as well. Who else have you got?
Yeah, so you got Lawson Humphrey. Jeff came in, played a role. He's a little bit in the Young Gun. We'll touch on him. Tom Atkins is an absolute role player.
Yeah.
Like he's an absolute role player and also a notable lock for finals multi, death taxes, Zach Guthrie, 15 touches, Jeff.
Yep.
He's 15 every single time he graces the field in a finals game. And what a situation that he was able to get into, and a few others that I'll chat about in a minute, that when he came in, he dead set looked like a 15-year-old kid playing seniors.
Yes.
But they're like, that's all right. We see the talent in you enough that we can afford to give you 60 to 100 games, and that's fine. If you get beaten, that's fine. We just want you to be out of Cardinia Park under the lights, and we want you to get used to playing AFL football. He's actually a really good footballer, Jev. So he's another one. He's not flashy at all. He's not super sexy, but they've just got so many guys that buy in. Well, first you get the coach and all your line coaches to buy into a player.
Yeah.
And then obviously the players will always buy into a system, but they're like, no, we believe in you. That's fine. You can stuff up. That's fine. Here you are. This is your spot. You're going to have about 60 games, and then we're going to go through. So those are a few. Is there anyone else you wanted to touch on? But Tommy Atkins, Jev, is just tough-nosed.
Yeah, Mark Blitzarves is a competition A-grade role player. Freak athlete, freak tank, freak build. Like, he's just an amazing specimen. He can play ruck for you. He can tag a midfielder. He can be on the wing. He can be half back. He can drop back in defense. He's the ultimate Swiss Army knife at the Cats. He just does whatever he has to do for the team. When you see him sort of running around as that hybrid ruckman, but he's tagging your favourite player, you're just like, this bloke is just a freak. He is like the absolute epitome of competition A-grade notable role players. He's a freak. And then the other two I've got, Das, Mitch Duncan and Cam Guthrie are sort of at the role-playing parts of their career. They've both played over 250 games, I'm pretty sure. Their body sort of let them down, or they've slowed down a bit, but their footy IQ is just through the roof. So you sort of see them behind the ball a bit more. They set the ground up. They set the team up. They come up to stoppages, and they're just geniuses out in the field. They're the difference between winning and losing. I'm sure Cats fan agree, like, if it's not this year, if they don't win the flag this year, they're probably not in their next premiership, but they go a long way to just helping them qualify in the top four and play these home finals or go on the road and win finals. So yeah, they're still really handy players. Mitch Duncan, Cam Guthrie. Have you got any more notable role players, Das?
Oh, you can pretty much you can just go back for years and touch on all these other guys. Like, you look at their premiership years, Wojcinski, Max Rook, like. They've just got so many guys throughout. Like, they've got their superstars, and then they just got these other guys in there that can just pinch hit and just do a role for them. So, and it's just the system that they've built, and it's taken time. Like, you look back since 2007, essentially 2006, since they really started to push. They've been so competitive since then. So, they're just, you can almost look at their whole list, and they've got a massive team of role players. So, Young Guns, Jev, is there anyone that you like the look of?
Yeah, so they've got the NAB Rising Star in Ollie Dempsey.
Yep.
Like, I think even Geelong fans would say he probably doesn't have the same, like, ceiling and absolute, like, competition A-grade superstarness as, like, Harley Reid and stuff.
Yep.
But he already looks like he's played 250 games for Geelong. Like, he looks like he's going to be a 250-game player for the Cats. He just fit in seamlessly. He plays his role. He's got a bit of that young confidence and flair. Like, I just think he's a 250-game player. He kicked 3 a couple of times for the Cats as a rookie. He can have 20 touches. He'll play on the wing, and he just jumps in with Brad Close, Grime Myers, these guys, Sean Mann, and they just play that role on the flanks, up and down, make you pay if they win the ball. He is just a gem for Geelong. They are going to love him forever. You?
Yeah, I agree, Jev. So they've taken him in, and he's been able just to plug right in. And it's like, there's a few times I think in his first 2 games that he turned his back as well. And you're just like, hey, mate, just make sure you always keep your eyes open because we're always lurking. So, yeah, he had an awesome season, Jeb. So they picked up Jai Clark a few years ago with pick 7, I believe. So I think they were hoping that he was going to become – so he's a local boy as well. I think they were hoping that he was going to be like the next Selwood, like that tough nose inside mid. But I'm not sure if he's come on as much. He is a little bit smaller. But he's still one I think they're going to put time into. But this is the big one, Jeb. Connor O'Sullivan – like, he's 198 centimetres, key position. I think he went pick 10 or 11, so just outside. And this is why the Cats are so good. They've had the luxury of being able to play him in the 2s all last year and just develop him. like all year. Like you haven't even heard of him. They picked him up and he's just been in there. Now, I feel there's only a few numbers in the AFL that you can actually retire. Like, and I'd be okay with it. So I think Joel Selwood's number at the Cats, I think if that ever got retired, I think we would all be like hanging the rafters. He's unbelievable. But the fact that they've given him the 14 is that speaks something. Like the first player to give it back to.
Yeah.
I think that really means something.
And they had this time last year, they're all saying like, I'd happily give him a 10-year contract sort of thing at the Cats, weren't? Isn't that what Graham Myers and stuff were saying? So they must rate him so much. And we didn't even see him that much last year.
No.
They're going to just roll him out and he's going to be another 250-game Geelong player ready to go, isn't he?
Well, I think that he only played the one game, but they even put Sam De Koning back in the twos for ages.
Yep.
Like they know what they've got. And it's so mature, I think, by them because especially when you're 198 centimeters, but he can literally play key back or key forward. Like he's really like that much of a good player. So, but the fact they've given him the 14, I think speaks volumes to what they think of this kid because I think everyone would agree. Like, what are your thoughts on the jersey retirement? I love obviously keeping numbers in, but that's one I feel down at Geelong you could just put up there forever.
I'd find it so cool if teams had jerseys hung in the rafters.
Yeah.
Like Pat Cripps, number 9, gets hung in the rafters after this. Even if it's like a 20-year thing or something.
All the good
and then you bring it back out of retirement. But then again, it's so cool like West Coast. It's gone Ben Cousins, number 9, into Nat Nui, number 9, now Harley Reid, number 9. Like I also find that so cool. But yeah, it is a conversation for another day. Another young gun I've got, Das. Dead set looked like they went down to the pub. They went down to Lammy's in Geelong and they just were going to catch up with Jez Cameron. He was just having a beer with this young guy named Lawson Humphreys. And they've just pulled this, can you play? Yeah, I'm a pretty good kicker of the ball. No worries, come train with us. They're dead set like a local footy club. They've pulled Lawson Humphreys from the pub. He's an absolute jet who just fit in. Beautiful kick of the ball. Another guy. He's going to play the next 200 games of his career at Geelong. The next 10 years, he's going to be paid peanuts. Like the rest of them, he's going to be on such team-friendly deals and play 200 games and get a great AFL career. It was his first year last year. I couldn't believe it. He looked like he's played 10 years. So Lawson Humphrey is in my young guns. Have you got any more? Because I got one.
They're the ones I just wanted to talk about. But there has to be a thing about getting half-back wingers from WA.
Yeah, for sure.
They play on the big paddocks. They know how to hold their width, and they're all good kicks.
Yeah, for sure.
And they can run up and back. So if you're scouting, go to Perth. Go over, look at the halfbackers and get them to run because they always seem just to come in and just dominate.
And I'm going to give this guy the young gun tag, even though he's 22-year-old, but just so we can talk about him or you can talk about him. Shannon Neal, Cowboy Neal, 22 years old, 203 centimeters. He looks about 110 kilos and moving like a brick shithouse. Talk to me about wheelchair Neal, Das.
No, I'm waiting. It's later on.
You're wait.
I've got a good spiel for the Cowboy, but I'll wait a little bit later. Later on the page. Do you have anything to do with their depth? So good teams have good depth everywhere. Bad teams, they can look real shaky and apart. What have you picked out for the Cats?
Righto, am I going to say it or are you going to say it? The Geelong players don't like Bailey Smith.
Here we go.
He isn't connecting with his teammates. We're hearing rumours. It just isn't working right now. He isn't connecting. You think the biggest brand, best looking model, most Instagram followers in the AFL just doesn't fit with the Geelong way. They're farmers, golfers, beer drinkers, fishermen. They're just generally like a local footy club down there. And then they've got the Hollywood, New York model, best looking guy of all time down there. We're just hearing like the Baslanka thing isn't landing well down at Geelong. I'm a bit worried about it. I'm going to talk a bit more about it later. But apart from that, I do love their midfielders, but I love their ability to get it done. So it's like their depth of the midfield. So you've got Danger, Baslanka, Max Holmes, probably going to be their blue chip midfielders. But as you said, Tom Atkins, Tanner Bruin, Jack Bowes, Mark O'Connor, Mark Blitzarv's in there. And they're just the cobblers that do the cobbling. They play team footy. They play winning footy. They do what they got to do to get it done. Like I can't remember Tom Atkins' impact on grand final day against the Swans in 2022, but I know he was probably doing a role that let Danger dominate that day and let all these guys dominate. So, Yeah, there's some of my depth. I got a little bit more, but you go. You talk about some depth, Das.
Yeah, Jeb. So with the Cats, I just feel that I could argue that they've got, even though they've just lost an all-time player, Tom Hawkins, to local footy, which I've said for years, if he ever plays local footy, he'd be the greatest footballer of all time.
Yep.
So we can go back and listen to some tapes where I've said that. Jeb, he's going to kick 100 and, what's his line? 155 goals?
No, he's only playing one game, I think.
No, if he plays a full season, it's
He's playing one game. He's like 9.5. I'm setting he's over under it.
Oh, he'll kick 13 for Finley if he goes there. But I could argue, Jeff, I think they've got the best depth forward line in the comp. Like, they all cook, and yet Jez Cameron is still at the head of it. So if we look, so they've always got a big, like Jez Cameron and the Cats have had a big secondary forward since 2007. So Shannon Neal's put on size. I'll touch more on him in a little bit, but he'll be handing out wheelchairs, Jeb, all year. So you've got him, you got Jez Cameron, Grind Myers, Brad Close, Stengel, Ollie Henry, Ollie Dempsey, Bailey Smith can float forward, Dangerfield can sit in the cube if he has to and take someone down and ragdoll him, Sean Manor, and now they've picked up Jack Martin as well. And I guarantee they will get the best out of Jack Martin. He'll play all year. He'll kick 40-something goals, and I'll be absolutely shattered. They'll just get his body right. He's just, like, when you read that out, they've honestly got like 10 to 12 guys that can roll through and actually kick goals. Like Sean Manor, there's another one, Jeff, that picked up from local footy or VFL.
Yeah.
Every other club knew that he was best on in a grand final, and he kicked 7. No one wanted him.
Yeah.
No one wanted him.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like the tapes there. It's almost like Ashton Genty, Jev. He's had an all-time season in college, and everyone overlooks him, and the Chiefs will just be there. Will be like, fuck, we'll take another running back. Like that's you know what I mean? It's like everyone's seeing the same thing, but they always just fall to the good teams.
I'm sure you heard Danger on the first Fireball Friday back yesterday.
Yeah.
And the thing, they just cracked a joke like, you took Matt Rowell out fishing or something, Danger, and he just laughed it off. He goes, the draft's a bit hit or miss. When you've got established footballers, sometimes it's just better to keep getting established footballers in. That is exactly what Sean Manor is. Why draft an 18-year-old kid? You don't know his personality. You don't know his work rate. You don't know what he's going to be like when he gets some money behind him. All this crap. When Sean Manor's just sitting there, who you've just watched play in the second hardest league in the world, kick 7 in a grand final. Of course he's going to play for the Cats. I couldn't agree with you more.
You know the best thing about that is? They get him, but then they do draft a good 18-year-old.
Exactly.
Like they just hit on both. So
they get it right.
They're good, the Cats.
And then their back line is solid as Das. Jack Henry, Tom Stewart, Sam DeConning when he's down there, Jake Kolajasny, Jed Buse, guys that have just been down there forever. Like they are a Finner's gag chop of Henry, Kolajasny, Buse. Like that, you just know that back line is solid as. They've played 1 million games together. They know how to defend. They know what they're doing down there. You just can't argue with it. Have you got any more on depth, Das?
No, their forward line just scares me. They can just pop up for a minute, real firepower. They can be a real tough lockdown team, but when they're going, it is scary.
They're going to do some damage to some teams at Geelong this year. Like they do it every year. And it's not as hard as it used to be to play down there. But if you start a little bit off and Jez has 5 shots at goal in the first quarter, like he did against North and stuff, it's all over by quarter time.
I think they're going to do some damage at the G on a good day because I do think Bailey Smith, whether they like him or not, will add pace. I think if Max Holmes has a really good preseason and continues, I think he will go. Lawson Humphrey's only going to get better as he can run off the half-back line. I think when they're going at the G, they look so good. They look so good. And
David King always talks about it about Chris Scott. He just changed the way they played. He's like, when they were losing to Richmond and Richmond winning those flags, they were too conservative with the ball. Then they just started kicking a contest, make a contest, get numbers there and get some flow on the ball. And they just went on that 16-game win streak, just dominated the Swans grand final day. And they did that again last year. They just choked a bit in the prelim. And it's like, they won't flinch. They won't blink. It'll still be the same way they play. They'll just get better, add more good players, add layers to it. Oh, they're going to be so good. Dark Horse All-Australian, Das. Start me off with your Dark Horse All-Australian.
Yeah, so I think this might be the year. Sometimes when there's a lot of talk about a player, maybe they start to put it in. They always seem to put the midfielders down into the half forward. But there's been a lot of murmurs and a lot of talk the last couple of years of Brian Myers, a playmaker actually making it in. He's only $7, which I thought like I'd like a little bit more. But as a genuine dark horse, he can do it all. His back end of the last year was so good. And from the sounds of things, he's a key forward's best friend. He's very awkward, kicks on acute angles, inside, puts pressure on, and he just all team first. Remember he kicked that goal from the boundary? He didn't even celebrate. He's just like, he didn't want it.
Yeah.
Like he wants to give back to the team. So I love the way that he actually plays footy. I was definitely a bit more skeptical when he was in the side. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? He's real awkward. He's trying to kick like suckling off the side of his boot, but he's really coming to his own. And he definitely, I think more teams this year will try and find their own Grind Myers and be like, hey, we need you to be a little bit more like less selfish and then just be a playmaker.
Yeah.
So I've got him at $7, Jeb, thanks to PointsBet. What about you?
Yeah, this is one I struggle with, Geelong, because I don't think players are set up to make All-Australian outside of Jez and Tom Stewart. Like, there's no one really... Like, I can't see Brad Close having a 50-goal, 500-possession season like All-Australia. They're not set up like that. It's sort of like Jez and Tom Stewart are the only ones set up to make All-Australian. Like, is the dark horse Max Holmes at $5 on PointsBet? It's a good bet. If you think Geelong are going to be a top 2, top 3 team, I know Geelong supporters think he's as good as any midfielder in a comp. Like, is he the bet at $5 to make PointsBet? Or do you just take the $3.50 for Tom Stewart, who's played for 7 years and has 5 All-Australians, actually one of the best general defenders and player at his position I've ever seen. And you're getting $3.50 when he just makes it every fucking year, So I just think the best dark horse, and it's not even a dark horse, is taking Tom Stewart at that value. He's just a superstar. I just adore the way he plays footy. He's tough. He's physical. He marks everything. He's a beautiful kick. Don't let him run free. Like, he gets tagged every week these days because he's too damaging on the game. Remember when Adelaide Crows thought it was a good idea not to tag him last year and he took 11 marks in the first half or something? Like, he's just a freak. So I'm just going to take the $3.50 for Tom Stewart. I think Max Holmes at $5 is a good enough value to call him a dark horse. But yeah, Tom Stewart's the best bet in the board.
Yeah, it's weird. So some of the midfielders, they're a little bit short, but Jeb, I would love to see him get another one. And I would love him at the board. I feel... Yeah, I think you mentioned last year, if you're building like a perfect defender, like his body type, he's super athletic.
Yeah,
and
he's speed, he's kicking, his toughness.
I love how much on the edge he plays. I know the hit against Prestia probably wasn't there, but he goes through and belts blokes.
He's like a linebacker in the NFL, isn't he? He's built like a linebacker. And he's solid as, and he's thick, and he's got fucking big ass and big quads. And when he hits you, you fucking stay hit. He's just a local footballer that's dominating AFL.
100%.
Let's get to our next question, Das. Coach, captain. As we say, it just says coach/captain ? You answer it how you want to answer it. Talk to me about their coach and captain, Das.
Yeah, I think Danger's actually done a really good job taking over. I think he was the most mature one left once Selwood obviously left and they won the flag in 2022. And it just seems like such a mature group. It seems like there's not much finger pointing. Like even in the prelim, if something's going wrong, it's very, hey guys, like come on, we're working together. And they all know that like mistakes might happen. Like people aren't stuffing up on purpose. Like you always look, they're always throwing their arms around each other. So I think as long as Danger's there, I think they're probably almost already grooming their next captain. They're figuring out, is it Max Holmes? Is it someone else? Who else is going to be the biggest voice in the building? But I think we both know how highly we think of Chris Scott. He's, if not the best coach of the modern era, and the resume speaks for itself. So these I got from my notes last year. I've just added it on. So if the Blues, or if your team, think of the Bombers not winning a final, think of teams that are starved for success. So he went flag, qualifying final, prelim final, semi-final 10th, prelim final, qualifying final, prelim, grand final, prelim, flag, then 12th, then prelim again last year.
Fucked. It's so fucked.
That is just success. So I think a successful season, you can actually put your hat on if you make the prelim final.
And because even he had the balls to, amongst all that success, to change his ways and change his game plan to turn those prelims and qualifying finals into flags, as we said. It's so fucked, isn't it?
Yeah, so I feel if you make a prelim final, that is a successful season because you might get done on the day, but at least most likely you finish top 4. You've given
Yep.
yourself over the 24 rounds to put yourself in the best position, and then you've probably won the first final or qualifying final to get through. Once you're there, like anything can happen on the day. So
Yep.
I think prelim is an absolute tick, successful season, especially when they've been losing the prelims. They've been pretty close as well. And then playing 3 grand finals, he's won 2 of them. He's a superstar. No matter what he does, turns to gold. The amount of players that they approach, they always get the players it's like they feel they need. And it just feels inevitable now that Matt Rowe's going to go to Geelong, doesn't it?
And Clary, if they can get if Clary has one bit of controversy this year, and then all of a sudden their midfield's going to be Clayton Oliver, Matt Rowe, and Bailey Smith starting next year, and you're like, what the fuck? How did that happen? Sort of thing. Yeah, I hear you.
So I could argue that maybe Danger's like not the best captain in the league, but Chris Scott's the best coach left.
Yeah. I wrote down, is this the hardest question with this club? Because it just feels like it's whether you like their personality or not, Das. Like, Danger is a top 10 player I've ever seen, as good as any footballer ever. He's a bit of a loser. He's a bit tacky and weird and a bit of a goober, isn't he? Like, he's a bit strange. But when the ball's bounced and there's there to win the ball, he's still a fucking superstar, and he's the right man to lead that club. He's a bigger personality and ego. He was the perfect guy after Selwood. It wasn't like they went from Selwood to handing it to a young kid. It was like, give it to Danger. He's as good as any player. But he just feels like he leads that club and those men and that culture so well. And then 2 things can be true about Chris Scott. He can be a top 2 coach, and he probably isn't 2, to be honest. And he can also be an absolute flog at the same time. He's such a fucking good coach. And such a fucking flog at the same time. If I was a Cat supporter, I'd love him. And you just know how lucky you are to have him as your coach. But geez, he says some stupid, questionable stuff that only ever suits Geelong. Like, they'll ask him a question, he'll only ever answer it on how it can make Geelong better in the competition, not make the whole competition better. And he's just so he's so happy with himself, and he says stupid shit, and he blames umpires and whatnot, but he is a top 2 coach in the league, and no one can argue. And he earns that platform to say stuff that's on edge because he knows he's not getting fired. He knows he's going nowhere. So with coach and captain at Geelong, it's like, we all know how good they are. Geez, they can be average blokes as well, and it's so fun to beat them sometimes. But yeah, they're freaks. They are absolute freak stars.
I do like the fact with Chris Scott, and yes, I know he's got the runs on the board, but he very much protects his players.
Yes, for sure.
When he comes out into a press conference, he'll be like, nah, this is that, or he'll put it on him or the umpires or some other reason. He's like, well, it's not our fault that we had a 3-4 day turnaround. Like he blames the schedule. Yeah. He'll always protect his players, which I think goes a long way. Like he definitely goes out, or he might have to make a statement that we focus on that rather than the gameplay. So I feel he's a lot smarter than he leads on. He's like, I might have to come out and say something here just so they stop talking about our on-field performance.
Yeah, they shift you're right. Shift the narrative a bit. Make the media talk about the crap he said. I'll call it the fucking umpires rather than, the Cats are struggling a bit. But yeah, he's a freak.
So strength of schedule. So Fox Footy, if you guys are new, they come out depending on where you finished last year. So number 1 would be the easiest schedule. Number 18 would be the hardest. The Cats got the 8th ranked schedule, Jev. So which is bizarre that the fact that they get a bit of a better run at it again, and then they get all the home games. Have you had a look at their schedule?
Oh, it's fucked. I've never seen a schedule suit a Geelong side better than this one. So, Jesus, they've got a tough start to us. Their first 11 games are a bloody tough start. I'm sure you've had a look at it. I'll quickly go through it. So they start at Brisbane, tough start. Freo in Geelong, tough start. Saints at Marvel, no one wants to play the Mighties in the warehouse tough start. D's in Geelong, Crows at Adelaide Oval. That could be 2 wins there, but then it's Hawks at the G, Carlton at the G, Collingwood at the G, 3 tough games in a row. GWS in Geelong, who go down there and beat them the last 2 years, I think. Port at Adelaide Oval, then Dogs in Geelong. So that's 11 tough games and a brutal start. So I'm going to go about 7-4, 6-5 to start. Just stay above 500, win the games you need to. Couple of losses in there. But I'll tell you what stood out like a sore thumb. Round 12, Eagles in Perth, win. Round
get right
13, Suns in Geelong. Round 14, Bombers at the G. Round 15, Brisbane in Geelong. That's a 4-game win streak into a round 16 bye. They've got the bye round 16. As a non-Geelong supporter, is there a team you want to see less have a late bye, a round 16 bye, than the Cats? We just know. Watch them go on a 4-game win streak before the bye, get all their players absolutely right as rain, and then just hit the back half of the July, August, September, absolutely primed. And then after the bye, they get Richmond twice. How do they get the Tigers twice after the bye, Das? They get the Saints and they get the Bombers in Geelong. It just works for them so bloody well, Das. What have you seen in their schedule?
Yeah, I think especially with Chris Scott, like last year, I think they went 5-0 and then they lost the next 5, and then that was that one against the Giants at home where it's like, shit, they've actually lost 5 in a row. The thing with the Cats is, and Chris Scott's come out, he's like, we're not in the making top 8 business. Correct. We're in the winning premiership business. So he's like, he actually came out and said last year, he's like, if I have to rest players so they're fit and firing for the finals, I will do that, because there's been too many times where he's had to limp into finals and then everyone's just shut the bed because no one's conditioned enough. Everyone's underdone. So you will see him. He's happy to lose a few games. So he would honestly rather finish in the bottom from 5 to 8 with everyone healthy, rather than finish everyone limping in the top 4. He said that multiple times. So I love, as you mentioned, Jev, they've got a pretty hard run at the start, but then they're going to know where they're at. Yeah. Because if they're behind, as you said, the last 6 games, it's Richmond at GMHBA, which is a get-right game. Then they go to NG Stadium, which is fine. Then they got the Saints, then North, then Port at GMHBA, then Geelong, and then they've got the Swans and then Richmond again. Talk about a tune-up for finals. Get yourself right. So, they've probably got, I think, looking at it, they've got the best schedule I've seen.
Just for the Cats. The round 16 bye. Like, Bombers supporters are going to hear this and go, how the hell do the Cats get a fucking round 16 bye when they're an old list that love rest? And then after the bye, they get Richmond twice, St Kilda, Essendon. They still play the Swans and stuff in there, but they can probably... I'm not saying they're going to drop those games, but even if they do, it's not going to affect them. They're going to be just priming themselves for a finals run. I feel like they're one of the only teams in the comp. Yes, it's a one game at a time mentality and it's 1 week at a time, but they are mature enough to have the honest conversation of looking ahead a little bit and go, righto, danger, you might miss these games because we need to win these 4 in a row before our bye. Jez, you can play here, and then you might miss here, and they'll just be primed for finals again, Das. Primed. Let's get to in the gun. Who you got in the gun?
I was going to go Bailey Smith, Jev. I was going to go in, but I'm not. And I'm going to go in the gun a little bit of a different way. So it's either they're in the gun to, hey, pressure's on, or you're going to pump them up a bit, because this man, Jev, I'm going to go my big man, Shannon Neal. Yes. I'm going to pump him up, Jev. He's put on 20 kilos. When he started squatting, he was so when he came to the club, he was 90 kilos. He's sitting at 110 right now. He's squatting 220 for 6 reps, benching 110 for as many as you can count. He did 20 calories in 7 seconds on the assault bike, Jev.
That doesn't even compute to me, Das. How much power must he be putting through that assault bike?
Unbelievable. So Tom Hawkins would usually sit around 105 kegs. Yeah. He's at 110 at the moment. Now,
it's fucked.
I need Shannon Neal, his baseline now, the fact that, because they've always had that big secondary forward ever since Tom Hawkins has been there. Now that he's gone, I need Shannon Neal to take over that role. So he will be handing out wheelchairs all season. So between 2012 and 2023, which is actually crazy, do you know what Tom Hawkins' worst goal-kicking season was between 2012?
It'll be like high 40s, I reckon.
46 was his worst.
Yeah.
In that time frame. So my man kicked 21 goals last year. I need at least 45 out of Shannon Neal this year. I think that's fair. That is one under Tom Hawkins' worst season in about 12 years of footy. And then that means there will be 45 wheelchairs being handed out, 45 extremely sore bodies, all in local country towns around Australia. Shannon Neal, I'm putting it on him. 45 goals. I think that's an absolute must.
Yeah.
You look at the back end draw. If Jez gets a rest or other people, he will play in the cube. He's put on the size. I reckon he's absolutely primed and ready for a massive season. 45 goals in the gun, wheelchairs, Cowboys, Shannon Neal. What do you reckon?
So if he only kicked 21 last year, I'm going to go above and beyond and set his line for goals at 39 and a half this year.
Has to be over.
That's double. We would both gobble up the over.
Yep.
Absolutely gobble it up. He'll nearly kick 40 alone at GMHBA Stadium this year. I'm so excited to watch him play. I hope he doesn't break down because he's too big, but he's just going to plan himself. And the thing you just know about Geelong and love about Geelong, I don't think it ended on bad terms with Tom Hawkins. But if Shannon Neal's struggling a bit, just feels like he can call up Toma and just be like, hey, mate, can you come down to training? I just need a couple of tips. Hawk will be there 7 a.m. setting up cones going, no worries, mate, let's do it. And that's why Geelong is such a great club. Das, as I said, my in the gun, you left him for me, is Dr. Pepper, the Fonk, Bailey Smith, Baz Lenker. I am so fascinated to watch this. This is going to be must-watch, though, because he's a bloody good footballer. But will they bring him into line? I can see so many on-field spats with him if he isn't connecting with players. Him doing it, his own way and over-celebrating and a bit of me, bit of camera time because that's who Bailey Smith is. And then it just not clicking well with Geelong, and I can see clashes. I can see it, and it's just going to be must-watch TV. I cannot wait to watch Bailey Smith at the Cats. If he hasn't connected with what we're hearing is true, and does he occasionally knock at handballs and he drops the bottom lip and he's the biggest superstar in the comp, all this stuff, it's just going to be must-watch TV, and I can't wait. Bailey Smith in the gun, or is he just going to fit into line in the Geelong way and be a freak dust?
Yeah, no, I like it. But the thing with me and Bailey Smith coming in, I think he's definitely a cherry on top player. It's not like, who can I use as an example? It's like if the Bombers got Bontempelli, for example. So the Bombers get Bont and he's just like, yes. But then if Bont goes down, the Bombers are back to where they are.
Yeah.
If Bailey Smith doesn't play this year, the Cats are still going to a prelim. You know what I mean? Like they're non-reliant on Bailey Smith. I think he's a great addition for him, but they didn't give up the farm to get him.
Yeah, it's a good call.
You know what I mean? Like he just came in. I think he's going to be a cream on top player. And I do think he will have a good season as long as he has his head screwed on. But it's not like other situations where everyone's like, Geelong fans are just hoping that he has to play the entire season because they just know someone else will come in and do the role for him.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's such it's an into the future pickup as well. So it's a bit of a cherry on top, but then he's sort of going to, as Danger starts easing out of the side, Baz is going to just sort of take that role, they hope, and he's going to be there for the next 10 years or whatever. Nah, it's a great call. They're probably, if he played or not, they're probably playing in the prelim this year. It's can he be the reason they win the prelim this year? Best bet. Best bet on the board, powered by PointsBet. There is some money here. It feels like money for Jam. I'm gonna quickly go through their what PointsBet are giving them on their season specials. So to win the premiership, $9. To make the grand final, $5. Minor premiership, $8.50. To make the top four, $2.40. To make the top 8, $1.40. But then they bought out a new market yesterday, PointsBet, and you've probably got it written down. Am I cutting your grass here?
No, go.
Otto. They bought out goal kicking markets. Jez Cameron to kick 50 goals is $2.20. To kick 60 goals is $4. 60 plus goals. To kick 70 plus goals is $8.50, and 80 goals plus is $21. 64, 53 and 65 in his last 3 years at the Cats. 64, 53 and 65. Nothing's changing, Das. Take that $2.20 for him to kick 50 and then take that $4 for him to kick 60 and then to make the top 8 at $1.40 is money for bloody Jam. If you can multi those two, we'll get into the multi in a minute. But geez, they just feel like they're making the 8 and he's kicking 50 goals, don't they, Das?
Yeah, it's death taxes, Jeff. As long as he can play all the games, he'll do it.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing I just wrote down, they finished 12th the season before when we did their season preview, and we both had them to finish top 4.
Yeah.
Which was crazy. So I'd be stupid not to do it again. So they're $2.40 to make the top four.
Yep.
So I just think that's the best bet on the board. Their run home, because imagine they are healthy. And I know I said that Chris Scott would rather not limp into finals, but imagine they just do the work at the front end and then they're just still slaughtering sides at the back end and then they just do make the top four. 240 I think is a good bet, but if we can somehow multi-Jez 50 goals into Cats top 8, like what would that pay?
Jez 50 goals into Cats top
350?
8. Like $3, yeah.
So gamble responsibly. That's a put $10,000 on it, Jeff.
I'm just looking. I just want to quickly find what they are to miss the 8.
Oh, I don't even want to know.
Because, as we said, they finished 12th. Oh, I can't even find it on points.
That was after a monstrous finals run. They had a short preseason. They're not missing the 8, Jeff.
No, they really aren't. Yeah, we're both pretty confident in Geelong. So that gets us to what their floor of wins is. What did you have down?
Everyone does an ACL, like every single player, and they win 12 games.
I completely agree. Their floor is legit 12 and 13. Their late schedule is just too good. The 4 games before the bye into the round 16 bye into Richmond twice after the bye. It's so good. Like 12 wins is their fucking floor. So what do you got their ceiling at?
So I think 17 to 18 wins. They're absolutely as advertised, no pun intended. And they just finished top 4. They get a home final. MCG win the first, and they stay in Melbourne. They stay at the farm for like 3 months.
Yeah,
it doesn't come out as you said, after their bye, Jev. After their bye, they go to Sydney, which I don't think they care if they rest players. They go to Sydney twice.
Yeah,
so essentially they can not move for like 3.5 months, apart from going to Sydney, not across the country. It's unbelievable. So I've got 17 to 18 wins, like absolute ceiling, and they're just, again, best team in the comp.
So, yeah, it's unbelievable how much we agree on them. As I said, if they start, this is slow for Geelong. If they start 6-5, so let's say they're 6-5 after 11, they go on that 4-game win streak before the bye. That's 10-5. Then they beat Richmond twice, Saints, Bombers, and North after the bye. That's 15 wins. Their ceiling is legit 17 and 18. It all depends how they start in that first 11. If they start 8-3, that's minor premiership, top 4 written all over it. If they start 8-3, they're going to be like a 17, 18 win side. Exact same dust. That gets us to our over-under. Their over-under is 13.5. Unless they get a season injury to Jez, Stewart, or Danger, that is an absolute lock. Take the over 13.5. Geelong are winning 14 plus games. They're just their schedule, everything about it is just set up so well for them to finish top 4 and have another real crack at a premiership, Das.
Does this feel like the over-under that we go through at the end? Does this feel like you're most confident in all the teams we've done so far? Like, obviously, we're high on Freo, 12.5, but I feel this feels second. Like, after going through it.
Looking at that, and even if you question them a little bit, go look at the schedule and just how well it plays out for them. After week 11, because we all know they're a top 8 side. So I was harsh on the first 11 weeks, making them 6-5. If that's 7-4, if that's 8-3, you go from there. And even if they lose to Brisbane and Geelong before their bye, they'll still be 3-1 before their bye with this second half schedule, with guys just resting, getting perfect, well coached. Teams just rock up and lose to them before the game starts because they're just too good at home. They're too well systemed and coached. Yeah, it feels like an absolute overdose.
So to wrap it up, so we always do a lovers multis. Jev, I actually wouldn't mind the simplicity one. I actually genuinely want Cats to make the 8 and then Jez to kick 50. But I feel we have to put a few more legs in there. Let's make it a little bit fun for the people. So what's a couple of legs that we like? Do we want Tom Stewart again for All Australian? Let's about 3-4 legs.
There's legit 3 different ones we can put on. As you said, Cats to make the 8 into Jez 50. Lock. Cats to make the 4.
Yeah, let's go that.
Into over 13.5.
Yep.
Into Jez 60.
Yep.
It feels like a fucking lock as well. And then Stewart All Australian at $3.50. Go back to Jez for 50 at $2.20. Into their over at $1.80, over 13.5. is an absolute lock. It just feels like a lock as well. I would gobble all them up, Das.
Yep. So we're going to try and get on the points bet, see if we can get one of these multis on. But I would put some serious cash on Jez to kick 50 into the Cats to make the 8.
Yeah.
Gamble responsibly, of course.
We'll try and get that one up. And then a bit of better value one can be top 4, Jez 60, Stewart All-Australian. That's going to be like 20 to 1, even more. You'd take that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, 100%.
$4 for Jez to kick 60. He's kicked to 2 of his last 3 years. Stewart makes All-Australian every time he steps down the field. And if Jez is kicking 60 and Tom Stewart's back in the All-Australian combo with that schedule, they are making the top 4, which is also $2.40. That's 3 over $2 legs. Give me all of it.
I feel we've got 2 more years of prime Jez Cameron. He'll still be a gun for 15, like if he wanted to, for 10 years, but I feel he's probably got 1 or 2 real big, like 60, 70 goal seasons. Jeb, we went a little bit over, a little bit longer, but that's fine because the Cats are just a good side. We like
50 minutes on the Cats. Let's go. See you, Dave.
See ya.
What are you prepared to lose today? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.